How to Find Peace with Buddha's Teachings. By a lifelong researcher in Buddhist philosophy. In the quiet pursuit of a life dedicated to the study of the Dharma, one question has remained a constant and luminous beacon. What is the nature of true peace? And how can it be found? For over 40 years, my work has led me through the vast and intricate teachings of the Buddha, not as a collection of ancient dogmas, but as a living, breathing manual for the human mind. The conclusion of this long inquiry is as simple as it is profound. Peace is not a fleeting state to be captured, a commodity to be purchased, or a destination to be reached. It is a quality of being to be cultivated. The Buddha, in his unparalleled wisdom, did not offer a magical solution but a practical path, a gradual, systematic training of the heart and mind that leads away from the shores of turmoil and toward the calm, clear waters of inner tranquility. Our modern world, with its incessant demands and digital distractions, has created a veritable epidemic of disquiet. We are more connected than ever, yet we often feel more isolated. We have access to endless entertainment, yet we suffer from a deep and pervasive sense of unease. We search for peace in our careers, our relationships, our possessions, and our achievements, only to find that any calm we grasp is conditional and temporary. The Buddha's teachings offer a radical alternative. They invite us to turn our attention inward, to the very source of our agitation, and to discover a refuge within ourselves that is unshakable, unconditional, and utterly serene. This article is intended as a comprehensive map of this inner journey. We will not engage in simplistic platitudes, but in a deep and thorough exploration of the core principles and practices that form the Buddhist path to peace. We will begin with the Buddha's foundational diagnosis of our inner turmoil, the Four Noble Truths. We will then walk through the practical prescription for its cure, the Noble Eightfold Path. We will illuminate the essential tools of mindfulness and compassion. And finally, we will explore the liberating wisdom that cuts through the very root of our restlessness. This is not a quick fix, but a lifelong practice, a journey of 1,000 miles that begins, as all true journeys do, with a single, mindful step. Part 1. The Diagnosis. Understanding the nature of our disquiet, the Four Noble Truths. Before any cure can be effective, there must be a clear and accurate diagnosis of the ailment. The Buddha's first and most essential teaching, delivered in the Deer Park at Sarnath, was a precise diagnosis of the human condition, framed as the Four Noble Truths. Understanding these truths is the first step toward finding peace, as it clarifies exactly what the problem is and where it comes from. 1. The truth of dukkha, the reality of disquiet. The first truth is often translated as, life is suffering. This translation is unfortunately grim and incomplete. The Pali word dukkha carries a much broader and more subtle meaning, closer to unsatisfactoriness, stress, or a fundamental dis-ease. The Buddha was not a pessimist, he was a realist. He asked us to look honestly at our lives and acknowledge that a baseline level of disquiet is an inherent part of our unenlightened experience. He described 3 levels of dukkha. Obvious suffering, dukkha dukkha. This is the pain we all recognize, the physical pain of sickness and injury, and the emotional pain of grief, loss, anger, and despair. The suffering of change, viparinama dukkha. This is the stress that comes from the fact that even our happiness is temporary. A joyful moment passes, a loving relationship changes, a period of success ends. Because we cling to pleasant experiences, their inherent impermanence is a source of anxiety and eventual pain. Pervasive unsatisfactoriness, sankhara dukkha. This is the most subtle level. It's the background hum of anxiety that comes from being a conditioned, vulnerable being in an unpredictable world. It's the stress of constantly having to protect and maintain our sense of self, our possessions, and our security in a world that is fundamentally insecure. Finding peace begins with this courageous act of acknowledgement. We stop pretending that everything is fine and honestly admit that there is a fundamental disquiet that we wish to resolve. 2. The truth of samudaya, the origin of disquiet. The Buddha then identified the cause of this pervasive dis-ease. It is not, he taught, a flaw in the world, a punishing deity, or bad luck. The origin of our disquiet lies within our own minds. It is tanha, a Pali word meaning thirst, craving, or grasping. It is the relentless inner engine of wanting and not wanting. This craving takes 3 forms: craving for sensual pleasures, the constant desire for pleasant sights, sounds, tastes, smells, and feelings, craving for existence, the deep ego-driven desire to be someone, to have a status, to continue, to become, craving for non-existence, the desire to get rid of unpleasant experiences, which manifests as anger, hatred, and aversion, this constant push and pull, this chasing after what we want and running from what we don't, is what agitates the mind and robs it of its natural peace. The mind is like a lake, and craving is the wind that constantly whips its surface into restless waves. 3. The truth of nirodha, the cessation of disquiet. This is the truth of hope. The Buddha declared that since the cause of our disquiet is internal, its cessation is also within our power. It is possible to stop the craving, to let the wind die down, and to allow the lake of the mind to return to its natural state of calm clarity. This state of cessation is called nirvana. It is the ultimate peace, the extinguishing of the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. It is not a place, but a state of mind that is utterly free, stable, and serene. 4. The truth of magga, the path to the cessation of disquiet. The final truth lays out the practical, step-by-step method for achieving this cessation. It is the Noble Eightfold Path, a comprehensive guide to living that transforms our understanding, our actions, and our minds. It is the blueprint for the cultivation of peace. Part 2. The prescription, the Noble Eightfold Path is a blueprint for peace. The Noble Eightfold Path is not a set of commandments, but a set of 8 interconnected practices that, when cultivated together, led to the purification of the mind and the end of suffering. For clarity, it is often grouped into 3 sections: ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. The foundation of peace, ethical conduct, sila. A peaceful mind cannot be built upon a life of conflict and harm. Ethical conduct is the essential foundation that creates a sense of inner integrity and removes the coarse agitations of guilt and remorse. Right speech. This means abstaining from lying, harsh words, divisive speech, and idle gossip. Instead, we cultivate speech that is truthful, kind, helpful, and harmonious. A peaceful mind is reflected in peaceful words. Right action. This involves abstaining from harming living beings, from stealing, and from sexual misconduct. It is the practice of living in a way that is gentle, generous, and respectful of all life. Right livelihood. This means earning a living in a way that does not cause harm to others. It is about aligning our professional life with our ethical values, ensuring that our work is a source of benefit rather than a source of conflict. By practicing sila, we create an external and internal environment conducive to peace. We have nothing to hide and nothing to regret, allowing the mind to settle. The training of peace, mental discipline, samadhi. With an ethical foundation, we can begin the direct training of the mind to overcome its habitual restlessness. Right effort. This is the joyful and energetic practice of cultivating a wholesome mind. It has 4 aspects: preventing unskillful thoughts, like anger, from arising, abandoning them if they have arisen, nurturing skillful thoughts, like kindness, and maintaining them. Right mindfulness. This is so crucial it has its own section below. It is the art of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. Right concentration. This is the practice of unifying the mind through formal meditation. By training the mind to rest on a single object, like the breath, it becomes stable, clear, and powerful. This practice overcomes the fragmentation and distraction that is a primary feature of an unpeaceful mind. The insight of peace, wisdom, prajna. Wisdom is what ultimately liberates the mind. It is the direct seeing into the nature of reality, which uproots the ignorance that fuels our craving. Right understanding. This begins with a clear comprehension of the 4 noble truths and matures into a direct insight into the nature of existence itself, its impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and lack of a solid self. Right intention. This is the alignment of our will with wisdom. It means cultivating intentions of letting go, of goodwill, and of harmlessness. We consciously steer our minds away from the pull of greed and hatred and towards clarity and compassion. Part 3. The primary tool, cultivating mindfulness, sati, as the guardian of peace. At the very heart of the Buddhist path to peace lies the practice of mindfulness, or sati, if the mind is a chaotic kingdom. Mindfulness is the wise and gentle sovereign who brings order and calm without violence or suppression. Mindfulness is the simple, yet profound, act of paying attention to your present moment experience with a sense of gentle, non-judgmental curiosity. It is the awareness of what is happening, as it is happening. The function of mindfulness. An unpeaceful mind is almost always a mind that is lost in thought, ruminating about the past or worrying about the future. Mindfulness brings us home to the only time that is ever real, the present moment. In the present moment, we often find that things are actually okay. The breath is flowing in and out. The body is sitting here. The problems that agitate us are usually mental constructions, stories we are telling ourselves about what was or what might be. Crucially, mindfulness creates a space between a stimulus and our reaction. An email arrives that triggers anger. Without mindfulness, the anger arises and we immediately react, firing off a harsh reply. With mindfulness, we can notice the feeling of anger as it arises in the body and mind. We can observe it as pure energy, a passing cloud in the sky of our awareness. In that space of observation, we have a choice. We are no longer slaves to our reactive habits. This ability to pause and choose a wise response, rather than reacting blindly, is a cornerstone of inner peace. How to practice mindfulness. Formal meditation. This is the dedicated gym for the mind. Find a quiet place to sit comfortably with an upright but relaxed posture. Close your eyes and bring your attention to the physical sensation of your breath. Feel the air entering your nostrils, filling your lungs, and the sensation of it leaving. Your mind will wander. This is not a failure, it is what minds do. When you notice your mind has wandered into thought, gently and without criticism, acknowledge it, thinking, and then guide your attention back to the breath. Do this for 10 to 20 minutes each day. The practice is not about stopping thoughts, but about learning to not be swept away by them. You are learning to anchor yourself in the present. Informal mindfulness. This is about bringing the quality of mindful awareness into your daily life. Mindful routines. Pick one daily activity, like brushing your teeth or drinking your morning coffee, and do it with your full attention. Feel the bristles on your teeth. Taste the coffee. Smell the aroma. Mindful pauses. Several times a day. Take a mindfulness minute. Stop what you are doing. Take 3 conscious breaths, and notice the state of your body and mind. This helps to break the momentum of a busy, stressful day. Mindful listening. When someone is speaking to you, give them your full attention. Listen without planning your response. This not only brings peace to your own mind but profoundly deepens your relationships. Part 4. The Heart of Peace. The Role of Compassion and Loving Kindness, the Brahma Viharas. A peaceful mind is not a cold, sterile, or detached mind. It is a warm, open, and connected heart. The Buddha taught specific practices, known as the 4 divine abodes or Brahma Viharas, to cultivate the wholesome emotions that are the very substance of peace. 1. Loving kindness, metta. This is the sincere wish for the well-being and happiness of all beings. Starting with yourself, it is the direct antidote to anger, resentment, and ill will, some of the most violent disturbances of the mind. The practice involves the silent repetition of phrases of well-wishing. Begin with yourself. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. May I live with ease. It is difficult to wish happiness for others if you cannot first offer it to yourself. Extend to a loved one. May you be happy. May you be healthy. Extend to a neutral person, then to a difficult person, and finally to all beings everywhere. This practice systematically softens the heart, breaking down the walls of separation and replacing the constricting energy of anger with the expansive warmth of goodwill. 2. Compassion, karuna. Compassion is the heart's response to the suffering of others. It is the wish for them to be free from their pain. It is the antidote to cruelty and indifference. When we encounter suffering, our own or another's, the compassionate response is not to turn away, but to turn towards it with a tender heart and the wish, may you be free from this suffering. This transforms our relationship with pain, allowing us to meet it with strength and kindness rather than fear and aversion. 3. Sympathetic joy, mudita. This is the practice of rejoicing in the happiness and success of others. It is the direct antidote to jealousy and envy, which are painful, contracting states of mind. When we hear good news about someone, instead of feeling a pang of comparison, we can consciously cultivate a feeling of happiness for them. This practice opens up a vast source of joy, as we are no longer limited to celebrating only our own good fortune. 4. Equanimity, upekkha. Equanimity is the crown jewel of the heart practices. It is a state of profound balance and non-reactivity. It is the ability to meet the inevitable ups and downs of life, praise and blame, success and failure, pleasure and pain, with a steady and unshakable mind. It is not indifference, it is a spacious and loving acceptance of reality as it is. Born from a deep understanding of impermanence, it is the mind that has found its true center and can no longer be thrown off balance by the winds of change. Part 5. The liberating insight, finding peace through wisdom, anicca. Dukkha, anatta. The deepest and most enduring peace comes from wisdom, from seeing the world clearly as it truly is. The practices of ethics, concentration, and compassion all create the conditions for this liberating insight to arise. This wisdom is focused on seeing three fundamental characteristics of all experience, known as the three marks of existence. 1. Anicca, impermanence. This is the truth that everything is in a constant state of flux. Nothing is permanent. Our thoughts, emotions, bodies, relationships, and the world around us are all changing, moment by moment. Much of our lack of peace comes from resisting this truth. We cling to what is pleasant, trying to make it last, and we fight against what is unpleasant, trying to make it disappear. This struggle against the fundamental nature of reality is exhausting and futile. The practice. Observe impermanence in your meditation and in your life. Notice how thoughts arise and pass away. Notice how sensations change. By seeing this directly, you begin to let go. You learn to appreciate pleasant moments without clinging to them, and you learn to endure unpleasant moments with the knowledge that they too will pass. This letting go is a direct cause of peace. 2. Dukkha, unsatisfactoriness. This is the insight that relying on impermanent things for our lasting happiness is inherently stressful and unsatisfactory. As long as our peace is dependent on external conditions being just right, we will live in a state of anxiety. The practice. See for yourself how chasing after the next pleasure or running from the next discomfort agitates the mind. This insight naturally leads to a sense of renunciation, not of joy, but of the frantic search for joy in places where it can never last. We begin to turn inward to find a more reliable source of well-being. 3. Anatta, non-self. This is the most profound and liberating insight. It is the realization that there is no fixed, solid, independent self, or I, at the core of our being. What we call our self is a dynamic, interdependent process of body, thoughts, feelings, and consciousness. The practice. This is seen by observing how much of our suffering comes from protecting and defending this illusory I. We get angry when I am insulted. We get anxious when my future is threatened. We get jealous when someone has something I want. As the insight into non-self deepens, this egocentric drama begins to fade. We take things less personally. We are less reactive. The world is no longer a threat or a playground for the ego. This dissolving of the rigid self-structure reveals a boundless, interconnected awareness that is naturally and effortlessly at peace. Conclusion. The cultivation of a peaceful heart. The path laid out by the Buddha is not a path of belief, but a path of practice. It is a journey of turning inward, not to escape the world, but to engage with it more wisely and compassionately. Peace, in the Buddhist understanding, is not a final destination where all effort ceases. It is the ongoing, dynamic quality of a mind that has been trained, purified, and liberated. It begins with the honest diagnosis of our own inner turmoil and its cause in our own craving. It is built upon the solid foundation of an ethical life that creates a clear conscience. It is strengthened through the dedicated training of mindfulness and concentration, which tame the monkey mind and bring it to a state of calm stability. It is infused with the warmth of a heart that has been systematically trained in loving kindness and compassion. And it is ultimately brought to fruition by the profound wisdom that sees the impermanent, unsatisfactory, and selfless nature of all things, allowing us to let go of our struggle with reality. This is a gradual path. It requires patience, diligence, and above all, a gentle kindness toward ourselves. There will be moments of clarity and moments of confusion, times of peace and times of struggle, but every mindful breath, Every act of kindness, every moment of letting go is a step along the path. It is the cultivation of a refuge in the one place it can truly be found, within the calm and clear depths of our own awakened heart.